So before we came on to tape this show, John, Washington offensive coordinator Ryan Grubb, it came out from a couple of different places that he was offered. That wasn't necessarily confirmed, but it seems like he was offered the Alabama offensive coordinator position, but he turned it down to stay at Washington. Somebody out there who talks about the Pac-12, I don't even remember who, was saying, yeah, you should probably just stay at Washington, and I don't think Bama's the right place to go, and Ryan Grubb agrees. So I bet that host feels really good about that particular take, whoever he is. Maybe he's listening to the show right now. But what did you make of this coming about? I wasn't surprised that Alabama would be interested in Ryan Grubb, but do you think that he's making the right decision here to stay with the Huskies, at least for 2023?
I do. I think, it's touch and go in college football, and at every level of football, right? Especially when you are the hot offensive coordinator candidate. But when you're so comfortable, and look, Grubb has been with DeBoer for 6 years or so, going on 7 at this point at various posts. Fresno State, of course, before Washington. There's so much comfort and familiarity. You're getting Michael Penix back. There is, I mean, you would know this better than me, Spencer. There's probably an unfinished business feel for Washington going into 2023. I mean, that Arizona State loss is glaring and kept them away from a lot of things, a lot of potential things. So I think not only that familiarity and Penix and all that stuff, but on the other side, when you go to Alabama, it's such a different deal. There's a different level of expectations. There's a different adjustment to Nick Saban, who Nick will probably tell you, not easy to work for. That coach, that post has been one of the most scrutinized in the sport by those Bama fans, even though they're all like head coaches now in the NFL or OCs in the NFL or whatever it is. Those guys are all scrutinized pretty heavily down there in Tuscaloosa. So not only would it be an implementation of your system in a new place with new names, but you really also have to stay under the Nick Saban kind of parameters offensively. It's a somewhat limited job, in addition to that spotlight and scrutiny that comes along with it. So I do think that there were some easy pros and cons here. Yeah, a couple more dollars maybe, but that familiarity, that continuity up at UW, I think was something that was going to be tough to pass on. So I think it makes a lot of sense for him to have stayed and try to become really, and I think for Washington, for everybody not named USC, UCLA right now, for everybody to try to become that apex program once all this stuff shifts in a couple of years. So I think there's a chance Washington can be right in the thick of that conversation. So why bail at this point?
And he said very openly in the press conference he does want to be a head coach one day, and I don't think there's any question that as you look ahead to the coaching carousel in 2024, because that's how college football works, we're always looking ahead at some level, he will be one of the top candidates out there for any job,
That's
frankly.
probably an even better point. Exactly.
Yeah, like there are going to be more jobs that come open in 2024, and there will be good jobs. There will be not as good jobs that come open. Will there be any in the Pac-12? I think the only ones that could reasonably come open, Cal, definitely, UCLA, maybe. And it doesn't feel like that's going to happen, but I think those are the most likely programs for it. Now, I've read some reports that SEC schools have tried to poach him away because of his schematic prowess for quite some time. So I wonder if the DC taking over for Mike Leach, RIP, doesn't work out and they choose to go in a different direction, or if Lane Kiffin were to move on from Ole Miss. I mean, there are a number of different jobs like that, or would he take a Mountain West job? I don't know. I think there's a lot to that, but I think at Washington, what he's ultimately seeing is the floor, I think, is higher in terms of how he could be viewed as a coaching candidate in 2024, because that's how he's got to be thinking now, right? That is the year that he's going to try and strike the iron while it's hot. And yeah, your ceiling might be higher at Alabama, because if you win an SEC championship, now your visibility is blown out of the water. But Washington's not going to fly under the radar in 2023. So if they go out, have another 10-win season, make it back to the Pac-12 championship game, I think whether they win or not, he will get offers as a head coach.
That's a great point. That carousel is going to be crazy because every year is now crazy. Every coach is on a shorter leash, so you're that much more vulnerable to a quick trigger, a quick hook from these athletic departments. So yeah, that's probably the best point, is that if that is the end game, staying and building on this breakout season would be just as impressive as keeping that train rolling down there in Tuscaloosa, for sure.
Completely agree. That's not the only reason that I bring on just to agree with me. It's just nice when it works out that way. John Garcia Jr., Director of Recruiting, for our insight here at Locked On. John, appreciate it as always. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate everyone listening. I will see you next time. And as always, have a wonderful rest of your day.